Okay, everyone, so this is just a small tutorial on how to create a PeerWise question that does not require you to have to write your math by typing it into your computer. So in the first assignment, you have to create a question that involves either substitution or integration by parts. For the example, I'm going to create a problem involving integration by parts. So the problem that I'm choosing in this case is I'm going to integrate, or I'm going to ask you to integrate the integral x sine of x with respect to x. So this is the problem that I want you to solve. Now, before I go to actually like attaching all of these into the into PeerWise, what I want to ask is that you come up with maybe a couple of possible mistakes that somebody could make so that you can have a couple alternative solutions. So what we want to create is the multiple choices, and we want to be able to predict possibly what different students are going to make as mistakes. Right? So of course you would be doing this in your notebook or whatever it is. So the first thing is, okay, well, maybe a mistake that somebody would do is instead of integrating this using integration by parts, you would try to integrate either just the x or just sine of x, right? So that means that if I'm just integrating the x term over here, I would end up with x squared divided by 2 times sine of x plus a constant c. Right? So that's by just integrating the first term in the integral. If instead I make the same mistake but with the other function, I would have only integrated the second function over here, and the first one would not have been integrated. So that means I would have gotten x times the antiderivative of sine of x, which is just minus cosine of x. So maybe I would have gotten something like that. Right, so maybe this is going to be my second wrong answer. So just to make that clear, I'm going to write this as an x and then an x. This is also wrong. For the third one, I'm going to create a question that is an answer that is also wrong. So maybe you could say, okay, well, a student will integrate the first function and integrate the second function and then multiply them together. Of course, we know that's not true, because if it were that easy, why would we have even created product rule or integration by parts? But it's a mistake that might happen pretty frequently. So if a student were to do that, they would integrate the first piece, which is x, and we get x squared over 2, and then integrate the second piece and get cosine of x with a minus in front. So this would be cosine of x, and then I would put a minus in front of my whole expression over here, plus a constant c. And of course, this is wrong as well. The next thing that I'm going to do is create the right answer. Okay, so I'm going to actually integrate this using integration by parts. Let me just show how to do that. So this is work that you would have to do in your own notebook. You would find that v is equal to x. So that means that du is equal to sine of x dx, which means that dv is equal to dx, and u is equal to minus cosine of x. Right? And so if I use this in order to integrate x times sine of x, I'm going to get u times v, which is minus x times cosine of x, and then minus the integral of dv times u. So that means dx times minus cosine of x, minus cosine of x dx. And if you evaluate that, you're going to get minus x cosine of x plus integral of cosine of x dx. Why plus? Well, because you have minus makes a plus, and that means you're going to get as a final answer minus x cosine of x plus, and the antiderivative of cosine of x is just sine of x, and then plus my constant of integration. All right, so this is going to be my right answer. So that's the one I need to mark as right in PeerWise. And then just for the fun of it, I'm going to create a final possible wrong answer, which is going to be basically the same expression that I have over here, but maybe somebody forgot that minus times minus makes a plus, or maybe somebody thought that the integral of cosine of x was minus sine of x and not sine of x. So my last wrong answer is going to be minus x times cosine of x minus sine of x plus c, right? So here I'm just going to rewrite this in black. So this is minus x cosine of x plus sine of x plus c. Okay, so we have 4 possible wrong answers and 1 right answer. Now, the next step that you would have to do in this case is to take pictures with your phone, probably, for each one of these. And the picture should be separate for each one of the pieces. So you should have 1 picture for the question, and then 1 independent picture for each one of the possible answers, right? So this one over here, then another picture for this, another one for this one, another picture for that one, and another one for this one. Okay, so now I've taken screenshots of each one of my answers, as well as my question, right? So that means I'm going to have the possibility to actually, paste them into a new question. So here we go. Now we're gonna have we have PeerWise over here that's open, and once you go into PeerWise, you're gonna see that in your questions, you're gonna be able to create a new question. Now, the question space is like this, so you can write the question over here, and then the alternatives are the possible answers that you're giving. So for the question that we're creating over here, we're just asking students to evaluate the following integral, right? And of course, the whole point of writing things down was to not have to figure out how to write math on the computer. So I'm just going to go over here. So this tab here says upload image, and I'm going to go to file, and my file over here is going to be, so I saved all of my PeerWise question. I saved all of my screenshots onto the same file just so that it would be easier to find. So I'm just going to select the question, which was this one over here. And I can upload and I can add a description if I want to, but it's not really necessary. And so what I'm going to do now is upload and preview just to see if it looks the way that I expect it to. It does, and so I'm just going to say insert. So evaluate the following integral. And now I'm going to go down over here, and in each one of these, I'm going to add an image as well, right? So the image that I'm going to add should be the possible answer that I want for each one of them. So for each one, I'm going to, again, upload a file, choose a file, and here I'll have question integration by parts, option A. That's how I labeled it. I'll open it, and then I'll insert it. Oh, upload and preview. Sorry, I forgot that part, and then I'll insert it. And for the next one, I'll have, again, choose a file, option B, upload and preview, and insert. Then I'll have for option C, I can choose a file, I can put the image for option C, upload and preview, then insert. For D, same thing. I'm gonna have to upload the option D for this one, upload and preview and insert. And for E, I'm going to again select option E and insert. Again, upload and preview. Really, you need to do that every time. Okay, so these are all of my possible answers. They're all handwritten, but now I have attached them properly. And the next thing is right before I finish this one, I have to select the right answer. So that's the right answer. I know that because I did all of the work myself. And then for the explanation, you can either write a little text that explains how the problem needs to be solved and how or the steps to follow. And so for the explanation, I'm going to do the same thing. So just a second, I'm gonna have to upload again an image with the explanation over here. I have saved that as explanation, upload and preview, and then I can insert that explanation. Okay, and so over here, what I can do is I can say this is integral by substitution. Of course, if you create the first question in a given category, which is why these two are over here, you can just create a new topic and you will just be able to say, okay, well, this corresponds to this one. This question also corresponds to trigonometric integral. And so that means you have now that this is evaluated both using substitution and using trigonometric integrals. If you want to just save this as a draft, you can save what I have done as a draft. But if you want to submit it, you can just show a preview. This is what your question will look like. And then you can save your question. So then you can just save the question over here. And now the question has been published. You don't have a rating yet because nobody has tried your question yet. Your rating also hasn't changed, but that's going to change as soon as people start trying your question. I hope this has been helpful. Again, it's really important that you try to do this. If you have any other questions, of course, you can MIO me.